Ghana has been ranked 82 out of 113 countries on the latest Global Food Security Index published by London-based Economist Magazine on Tuesday. The annual index ranks countries based on affordability, availability, as well as quality and safety of food. Ghana scored an overall mark of 52 out of 100 on the Global Food Security Index. On availability of food, Ghana scored 48.6 out of 100, whilst on affordability, the country scored 60 points out of 100. Countries like Sri Lanka, Mali, and Pakistan performed better than Ghana on the index, which reported Ireland as the world's most food-secured country, followed by Austria and then the UK. On the African continent, Ghana placed fourth on the ranking out of 28 African countries with reported scores. Now, let's take a look at the graphics and further detail. So as you can see, Ireland, Austria, UK, the first, second, and third, whilst Ghana is 82nd. And you can see the overall score, the affordability, and the score Ghana got, or the various countries got for availability as well. So we move to Sub-Saharan Africa, where we have Ghana being fourth, but coming after Mali. So South Africa is placed first, ranked first. Then we have Botswana, we have Mali third, and then Ghana fourth. And then we have these other scores as well. So we have the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Agribusiness, Anthony S.K. Morrison, joining us with more on this. Also is my colleague Joseph Opoku-Gakpo and the Director of Programs of Peasant Farmers Association of Ghana, Charles Nyaba. Let's start with Mr. Morrison. How good or bad is this ranking, Mr. Morrison?
Thank you very much, and a very good morning to your viewers. Well, if you look at the score, we've actually done 52. And if you look at the previous scores on the CADEP scoring that rates our performances, we've quite done about 48.9 thereabout. So I think that this is good, but if you look at some of the areas, you see it, and the fact that we haven't been able to follow through our policies very well. So, for instance, the PFJ is the major government policy for the agriculture sector. So that implies that we haven't done very well. I think that we got about 28%, which is far below. And but likewise, on the supply chain, we seem to have done well, and also on the micronutrition. So I think that it's a study we need to look at it a little bit deeper to see how this actually correspond with challenges on the ground. We haven't seen much on climate change adaptation in there. We haven't seen much of financing for the food sector or the agri-food systems. And there are quite a number of things that I've realized that are quite missing. But it's a document that we need to further interrogate and see where we can increase our abilities as a country, and also to play a major role with supporting government initiatives. And that also implies that government needs to listen more to private sector and the civil society organizations.
Now, Charles Nyaba, from the rankings, and as Mr. Morrison has indicated, we seem to have done better on the ranking. Would you say this has to do with the Planting for Food and Jobs program? Hello, Mr. Nyaba. If you could kindly unmute for us, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, so let me first of all say good morning to yourself and Joy News for bringing this for discussion. Let me also say good morning to my good friend Opoku-Gakpo and Farmer Morrison on the platform. It's been long. At the moment, I'm on the field. I'm in Pusiga at the moment, having engagement with farmers. And our meeting is basically has to do with factors that are contributing to food availability or not in the country. When you call me for this discussion, I must admit that I haven't seen the detailed report.
All right.
But my concern has to do with Mali ranking ahead of Ghana. I think that is indictment. If you look at in terms of resource endowment for agriculture activity, it is laughable for countries like Mali to rank higher than Ghana. To me, I briefly look at the table and the various rankings in Africa, and I'm disappointed not only in Ghana, but the performance of Sub-Saharan Africa in general, because we have everything that it takes for us to rank higher in terms of agriculture performance, in terms of lands, labor, water bodies, valleys, and what have you for agriculture production, we have it. So for us to allow countries like Australia, UK, and the rest to perform better than us, to me, I think we need to take a second look at the report and look at the areas that we think brought us back and see how best we'll be able to bring it up. Now, let me...
Mr. Nyaba, before then, though, yes, we're talking about, the overall performance, but how can we compare ourselves to industrialized countries where they're doing large-scale commercial farming? Yes, we may have all the resources that we need to engage in agriculture, but if we're talking about commercial and large-scale farming, we can't compare ourselves to these industrialized countries that are a lot bigger, actually, than we are.
When you talk about food availability and affordability, we are not only looking at the quantity that's produced and supplied to industries. We are looking at quantity of food that is in the market, and the ordinary person will be able to afford that food. And that is the point that I'm interested in. So if you take industrialized countries, it's possible for them to be doing large-scale food production. But whether that food is available for the ordinary person is a question that we need to ask ourselves. And if we're focusing on industrialization alone, I don't think Ireland or UK would have ranked first, because in terms of commercialization, if you talk about global food production, then you can leave America out. Today, you can leave China out. So for Ireland and UK to perform better means that we are not only focusing on the quantity that we produce, but how is that food available for the ordinary person. So my point is that when we initiated Planting for Food and Jobs in 2017, the aim was to ensure that we have enough food for consumption, and then we create jobs, and then have raw material for industry. 3 years after that, we cannot still boast of enough food in the market for the ordinary person. Today, go to the market, there are food commodities that you will not even get to buy. There's shortage. As at yesterday, I have received several calls from industries, poultry farmers and the rest. They are looking for maize for their fees, and they are not getting. There are many people who go to the market today, they cannot afford ordinary maize and other food supplements like vegetables. So the point I'm making is that we have opportunity, we have the resources to be able to change this trend, but we are not putting in measures in place enough to ensure that the ordinary farmer is able to increase his productivity. Right. Even though so much money went into agriculture sector, but I'm thinking that we'll be able to strategize in a way that we'll get the results that merit the investment that is going into the sector.
Now, Joseph Obukugakpo, you are an agric reporter, and I'm sure you've been poring over the details of these rankings. What does it mean to you?
I don't get a sense Ghana has done better, as the impression was being created. So Ghana, eventually, when you look at the entire ranking, out of 113 countries, came 82nd. Ghana was 82nd out of 113 countries. So when you do the mathematics, we did better than just about 30 different countries on the continent. And as the indication has been given, a number of other countries like Sri Lanka and Mali did far better than us. But just to again put it in proper perspective, I just pulled up the index from 2019, just 2 years ago. So this index that was just published covers 2021, presumably a year ago, ending 2021, 2 days ago. And then there was the ranking that was published in 2020, and there was the ranking that was published in 2019. Every year is done, and this is actually the 10th year that is being published. And I put out the 2019 ranking, and guess what? Ghana actually came 59th out of the 113 countries that was actually ranked. So on the ranking itself, Ghana has dropped from the 59th position to the 82nd position within 2 years. Within 2 years.
But how about the score itself, Joseph?
So the score itself, the overall score in 2019, Ghana got an overall score of, let me just pull that out very quickly. Ghana 59th position. Ghana scored overall 62.8 when it comes to the general index. That was the overall score that we scored back in 2019. You compare that with the ranking that we got this year, even as our figures actually dropped, they're seeing a situation where still out of the scoring of 100, then Ghana is scoring 60 out of the 100. So from 62, we've dropped to 60 in terms of the specific score.
Right.
And the margin in terms of the ranking has been very huge, although it's just 2 spaces. Again, an indication that other countries are doing far better than Ghana is doing. And then when you look at the ranking, when it specifically focus on some of the specifics, food availability, for example, out of the score of 100, again, we are scoring just about 60. And then when it comes to availability, then we're scoring 48 out of 100. Obviously, attention needs to be paid to this. When we do the ranking and use Africa generally as the benchmark, it looks as though we are doing very much okay. Africa, I didn't cover all the countries on the African continent, covered just about 28 countries. Ghana came 4th when you look at the African ranking. Generally, food security situation has been deteriorating across the African continent compared to other continents. But of course, Africa shouldn't be the benchmark. We need to look beyond Africa and probably peg the progress with more advanced countries, because then we have other resources, as Mr. Nyabo was indicating.
Right. So despite all that, resources that were devoted to planting for food and jobs, are we then saying that we're still not making an impact?
If you look at the general reports, attention is being drawn to the impact that COVID-19 has actually had on the general trends when it comes to food security. And the reality being that over the last 2 years, the food security situation has really deteriorated in countries that are not exactly close to food sufficient in terms of the availability to produce majority of the foods that they eat. So even with the general trend, we're seeing a situation where countries, particularly in the developed world, where they produce majority of their foods, are doing quite well, because then COVID-19 did negatively impact the general logistics when it comes to food production in terms of getting the food across to different areas, getting the input in terms of fertilizers and other necessary inputs. So the investments may have been done, but the reality is that the challenges with COVID-19 negatively impacted the food security situation generally. And if you are heavily dependent on food imports, as Ghana is, importing virtually all other major commodities, including rice, including corn on some occasions, and then all of that was struck by COVID-19, you are likely to feel the negative pinch of it. Solving this in the long term is making the efforts to avoid a situation where close to $2 billion is spent on importing foods that we can produce in Ghana generally, so that then the nation is more resilient even when it comes to shocks like COVID-19 and climate change, as far as our food security situation is concerned.
So, Mr. Yama, we're looking at these rankings at a time when, and I'm not sure that these rankings will cover the period in which we find ourselves now, where we're reporting, food price hikes and shortages and all of that. How do you feel that will impact on the rankings if the ranking was being done like now, Mr. Morrissey?
Yes, I think that would have been worse in that within the 8 months we've seen early this year, a bag of maize jumped from 58 cedis per 50 kg to about 150 Ghana cedis for the same size of maize. I think we've seen tremendous increase in rice, tomatoes, and a number of other commodities. For me, I think this index only covers some aspects, because there have been another index that shows that Brazil actually feeds all countries in the world. I mean, every table in the world eats something from Brazil. That puts Brazil as one of the major producers of foodstuffs across the globe. Other indicators have also shown, especially when it comes to fertilizer. These are more projections. The industry looked very grim for Ghana and Africa for that matter. Fertilizer, we're going to challenges on the global and the continental and national stages with regards to access to agro inputs. And that also brings me to land. I was raised about 50 cities is being voted out of the many money available for the agriculture sector. And I think that that is just a drop in the ocean. Taking, for instance, they said they are going to support poultry for about 20 million or so. We import only from European Union, which is our third largest partner with regards to frozen chicken, well over $680 million worth of frozen chicken. We import from Brazil, well over almost 800 something, and with regards to the US, about 1.something billion for frozen chicken. If you are going to invest only 20 million cedis, that is about maybe 4.something million. It will just be a drop in the ocean. Tomatoes, they are investing about 12 million cedis. And if you take Burkina Faso alone, we spend $100 million a year importing tomatoes from Burkina Faso. And if you are investing just 12 million cedis into tomato productivity, I don't know what we want to achieve with that. It seems we are not serious with food productivity in Ghana. Food security in the country is gradually declining. And I'm a little bit taken aback with some of the data that the Global Food Index is showing. I think that we need to look at it very much deeper. But I was happy with one indicator, which is commitment to our food policy. And I think that is where we need to look at a change from. Are we committed? Because there are already existing food policies that we should have been more committed to rather than pushing for planting for food and jobs. Because what we have ended up doing is to set aside the FASDEP and the METASIP. All these were making progress, and we've brought in a policy that has become more like a program, and we are really not seeing the impact. Food prices have gone up. Egg prices have shot up right now. I mean, we used to buy one single egg at 80 pesos. Now it's being sold for 1 cedi 20 pesos or so. So we need to, as a matter of fact, be more strategic. The coming years look very, very dire on us because, for instance, Yara have closed most of their production sites in Europe. Just yesterday in England, for instance, 2 of the factories said because of the cost of rising cost of production due to energy, they will reduce production. In China, which has one of the major factories that produces fertilizer, they have cut down on some of their production sites. So we now look to study the trend globally, and can think within our industry what we can do better. Look at contextualizing our agrochemical production, the seeds, intensify seeds production among the seed breeders, and also look at silos, food storage. Food losses, according to the index, is also very low. And I think that is one area we need to work on. That's the post-harvest losses that we've been talking about. So there is quite a lot to be done. Right. And I think that MOFA itself needs to do more intelligence analysis. We shouldn't be sitting down. I mean, the chamber had this about some few days ago. And I think that we are always very late in making sure that we are becoming more competitive or have a comparative advantages in some of these areas. All right. We should have somebody at the MOFA there who study global trend and who is doing more trade intelligence analysis and inform the policy person and also the decision maker as to these are what is going on and the likely effect or negative or positive on our productivity. We need to do that, but we sit down and we allow some of these things to come in and we start pushing for knee-jerk programs just to solve it. As we speak, COVID has had a huge impact on the economy, especially on productivity, and agriculture is not left out. So we need to do...
Joseph Opoku Gakpo. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Morrison, CEO of the Chamber of Agribusiness. I'll bring in Mr. Nyaba there. Now, what are some of the things we should be doing? Because whether we place first or last on the ranking is about what the situation is on the ground and whether people are able to get access to food affordable food on the market. So what should we be doing, Mr. Nyaba, Dr. Nyaba?
Yeah, so if you ask me, I'll just identify 4 key areas that we should be looking at. One has to do with irrigation. The reason why we rely so much in the Burkina Faso for vegetables is because we've not been able to develop our irrigation schemes. And when you come to irrigation, I'll first of all advise the Ministry of Food and Agriculture to take politics out of agriculture investment programs.
All right.
The One Village, One Dam project that was introduced by the MPP government, to me, I think it was a fantastic concept. But when it came to the implementation, it became purely a political tool to reward politicians for working with the party.
So one look at irrigation is great. Irrigation is one of the things you're talking about.
Mechanization. Mechanization is something that we've not been able to do well. On the field, rice is ready for harvesting. Farmers don't have combined harvesters. Everybody is running helter-skelter to see where we get those combined harvesters to harvest. Soya beans, the land is dry, there's no rain, and people still use hands to uproot the soya plants before they use sticks to trash them. We shouldn't be doing that and expect to actually be food self-sufficient. We need to also look at the inputs, just like Farmer Morrison said. This season, farmers were buying a bag of 50 kg bag of fertilizer for 230 Ghana cedis, instead of 112 cedis, 120 cedis last year. And nothing is being done. Government did well for coming out with the subsidy program. Fertilizer companies supply fertilizer. As we speak, we all heard from the Minister of Food and Agri when he met parliamentarians that they have paid fertilizer companies for what was supplied 2020. Up to date, I've spoken to most of the companies, and they haven't received any money. I think the Minister of Finance is not helping in this cause.
All right.
It appears Minister of Food and Agriculture have their policy, which is not being supported by Minister of Finance. So Minister of Food and Agriculture said, oh, we are doing this. But it gets to Minister of Finance and nothing is being done. Now, the last one has to do with provision of, using technology to be able to disseminate information to address our issues. As we speak, when you go to MOFA, Ministry of Food and Agriculture, to provide you data of the number of rice farmers, maize farmers, cassava farmers, yam farmers, or even smallholder farmers in general in Ghana, they will not be able to provide such information. So if you are coming out with a policy which is targeting, addressing concerns of these groups of farmers, on what data are you going to base your policy on?
All right.
And that is lacking. So I think that we shouldn't put too much emphasis on the rankings. Let's look at the negatives in the report and see how best we'll be able to put in measures to address some of these negatives, and then we'll be able to move forward.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nyaba of the Peasant Farmers Association. Now, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, is there anything you'd like to add to what Dr. Nyaba has said?
Well, it's about focusing on the situation on the ground, but we need to benchmark our successes with what the global trends look like. And again, just for emphasis, if you look at how well we're doing on this particular ranking this year, having a situation where out of 113 countries, we're scoring 82 with a score of 52 out of 100 as compared to 2019, when we actually scored 59 with a score of 62.8. Obviously, it's something that calls for concern, an indication that there is some form of deterioration happening. Just to quickly quote a portion of the report, it makes the point about how countries like Ireland, they've been able to keep costs down and tackle inequality within the food systems. And it talks about how Ireland is succeeding in that regard. And 2 years ago, they were the second-run country. Now they are the first-run country. And the report points to how they are making good strides by virtue of the fact that a lot of investment is being made in research and development. That's very crucial. In the United States, for example, we're seeing a situation where a farmer grows 1 hectare of field and gets like 10 tons plus of corn from that particular field. In Ghana, it's hovering around 1.9 to 3 tons per hectare, more than 3 times or sometimes 4-5 times the size. It all boils back down to research and development and investment in that space, so that then we are maximizing the land, we are maximizing the irrigation facilities, and we are maximizing the said mechanization that needs to be done. That's how come there are a lot of all these research institutions at the KNUST, at the University of Ghana, the Crop Research Institute. They deserve the necessary support to invest in what needs to be done to better improve upon agriculture. Otherwise, we'll just be running around in circles.
All right, thank you very much, Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who is with us here at Joy News, and to Dr. Nyaba and Mr. Morrison as well.